Coach Jerry Fiorini on with me in just a little bit. We were having some technical difficulties, so Coach is going to be dialing in on his cell phone, so he'll be on with me in just a moment. I want to make sure I give a special shout-out tonight to some special guests that I had. I want to make sure I thank Senator Joe Griffel for sponsoring tonight's broadcast. I want to make sure I thank the Ryan brothers down in North Carolina for helping out tonight. And I also want to make sure I thank Tony Levidotti for helping me with tonight's show. And as I do every week on the Rock Pile, I want to make sure I thank the Sports Hall of Fame. I want to give a special shout out to Dave Spragley for helping me out with all the legends here that I've had on the past 2 months. You can catch them on Facebook at the Rome Sports Hall of Fame and Museum. They're located at 5790 Rome New London Road right here in Rome. They can be reached at 315-339-9038. They do have a Venmo account at the Rome Sports Hall of Fame, and they do have a GoFundMe page. And you can email any questions, inquiries you have to Dave Spragley at sbaradav@aol.com. So again, I want to make sure I give a special shout to Senator Joe Griffo, the Ryan brothers, Marty and Joey, Kevin, and Brendan for helping sponsor tonight's show, and also a special thanks to Tony Levidotti for sponsoring Coach Fiorini here on the broadcast. I just want to make sure I give a reminder. Next week's show with Kelly Hoke, I'm going to have to postpone it. When I scheduled all these shows, I didn't know if we were going on vacation, but my wife and kids, we are going to be heading to Ocean City, Maryland next week. So next week there will be no Rock Pile. I'll schedule Kelly for the end of April if it fits her schedule. So the next broadcast after tonight will be Coach Tony Abone. He'll join me on April 14th, and followed by on April 21st, I'll talk to Coach Dennis Skibitsky, and then we'll end the month of April with Kelly Hoke. So Coach was having some problems. I'm hoping we'll have Coach on here in just a moment. He's just trying to get back on here. I am going to be doing the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch on Saturday morning. That's right on WKAL 1450 and the new 103.3 FM. And I'll be talking to Colgate men's basketball coach Matt Langle, and I'll also be talking to Coach Dave Pasiak, the new Linden college coach right out in Vermont. Coach has done a fantastic job and has always been kind enough to come on our Saturday morning show to talk sports. So we will break down the Final Four. Gonzaga, UCLA, Saturday, and they will get the winner of Houston and Baylor. Should be two really good games in college basketball. So the Rock Pile of the month of May, I'll have to give some dates out. I'm not sure what dates yet. I'm going to be speaking to the WKTV crew. I'll be speaking to Katrina Smith. I'll be speaking to Spence, Jason Paulus, Steve McMurray. They'll all be coming, Jill Real too. They'll all be coming on with me for the month of May. And then I'll have some other special guests. Scott Petoniak's going to be a guest on here with me. I'll reach out to Scott. We'll lock up a date, and we'll have him on here as well. So just waiting on Coach here. Hopefully he gets it going. I had to time him out here a little bit ago. I was on working with him to try to get him on here. So hopefully he'll be on with me in just a moment. If you're listening to me on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button and never miss any of the Rock Pile shows. I also have been playing back some of the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch interviews from Saturday morning. So I've been posting those up. Share it, like the page. You can also follow me on Facebook. You can follow me at The Rock Pile Show on Twitter. If you have any questions for any of the guests on The Rock Pile, all you have to do is put your questions or comments in Facebook. You can also put your comments in YouTube, and I'll try to pull as many comments and questions over as I can for the coaches that come on. So again, next week, if you're just tuning in, I will not have the Rock Pile next week. We're scheduled to talk to Kelly Hoke. I'll have to postpone Kelly. My wife and kids and I, we're going to be on vacation next week. Again, when I did the scheduling of the Rock Pile, I didn't know if we were going anywhere. So I have to move Kelly to the end of April. So I'll talk to Coach Tony Abone. I'll talk to Coach Dennis Skibitsky, and that'll wrap up the month of April. And then we'll go with the WKTV crew in May, and then we'll bring on Scott Petoniak and more in the month of May and the month of June. So just waiting on Coach. If you do have any questions or comments and you're out there listening right now live, just put some of those comments in there for me, and I will do the best I can to bring some of those questions over. Going to talk to Coach tonight about a lot of different things. As I do every week, I always learn something about the coaches. Coach was a four-sport athlete. baseball, basketball, football, and volleyball. Played semi-pro ball. I'm going to talk to him about his early years as he coached the Rome Moose and also a longtime coach of the Rome Indians. Was also an assistant coach for Smith Post. And then we'll get into his long 19-year career as the head coach at Rome Catholic for baseball. And also, we'll get into some of his time over at New York Mills. How did Coach get over to New York Mills? We'll ask him that story. And then he spent 20 years as the defensive coordinator for Rome Catholic. He spent 18 of those 20 years with Coach Dennis Skibitsky, so we'll talk to Coach about that. And then we'll also talk to Coach. He was inducted right here into the Rome Sports Hall of Fame in 2008. So we'll talk to him about the Rome Sports Hall of Fame and what that means to him as well. So again, if you're just tuning in, hang tight. I'm just trying to get Coach on with me right now. Let me see if I can grab him on. Let me just give him a quick call. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that. We got Coach on here, so let me pull him on screen here. And if you got any questions for Coach, you can ask the questions. Let me unmute you. Coach, we finally did it.
What happened?
I don't know. I guess you can blame me for it. I'll take responsibility for it.
No, it's fine. That's fine.
I'm not sure what happened, to be honest with you, but
Either am I.
but
Because
I'm glad that.
we got this one right away. No problem.
Okay, well, good. I can hear you loud and clear, and hopefully you can hear me okay.
Well, glad to be with you, my guy.
No, I appreciate it. It's good to have you on. And, Coach, I keep saying every week I learn something different about all the coaches. And when I was going through some info on you, you were a volleyball player back in high school?
Don't go there.
Coach, come on.
Yeah, I had basketball, football, and volleyball. Yes. It was a great sport.
That's an interesting combination. I saw that. I said, my goodness, all these times we used to make fun and joke with everybody. Here, Coach played volleyball.
I make fun of him now. That was a great sport. I enjoyed it.
So, Coach, I also didn't know, too, your earlier years, though. I didn't know you coached Rome Moose. Obviously, I knew you coached the Rome Indians here locally. But how did you get involved in coaching? Where did it come from?
It came from my son, really. When he was a young kid, I wanted to get involved with him at baseball and stuff, Little League and stuff like that. So we started Little League. That's where I started. Basically, I started right in Little League when he was 8 or 9 years old. We went the whole route, farm league. Then I got a team. What we did, though, is I got a Galliano team. And I had all these young kids playing farm league with me. So as a coach, and it was a smart coach, I set it up where all my kids would come with me. So we had a draft at one time. In a quick story, we always worked on Penny Field. And Rocky Valzano was my coach with me. And he could throw a baseball really high. So what we did, all the kids that Rocky would throw a ball in the air, if they caught it, we put them aside and we named them in the draft. So we had one kid, no one knew who he was, little kid. And Rocky threw a ball to him, and the kid was outstanding for an 8-year-old. So I asked him his name. And he said, Montestelli. And I said, really? He said, yes. And I said, when did you come here? He said, I just moved down East Rome, Emo. So I said to him, all right, listen, we're having a draft. Don't go to tryouts. Because we know this guy's he's a sleeper. So we go into the draft, and we're drafting all the kids that I had on that team. I had I remember Paulie Trinfracco, Dave Campbell, Robbie Damore, a whole bunch of young, good baseball players, and my son Jerry. And all of a sudden, the last round we draw, and I said, Emo Montestelli. And they says, who's that? I said, he signed up. He was an outstanding ball player, not only through Little League, high school baseball. In fact, he ended up playing for the University of Rochester for 4 years. So that was my secret for Little League.
And Coach, what was your best sport? What was your best sport out of baseball, basketball, football, and volleyball? What was the best one for you?
You had to put volleyball in it again.
Yeah, because you're going to tell me volleyball was your best sport. What were you the best at?
I was just I'm a decent ball player all the way around. I liked football. I love football. In fact, I played more football than I did baseball. And when I was growing up, I played some at RFA, obviously, but then I went into semi-pro football. Frankfurt Falcons had a team down there, so I played with them for a couple of years. And then the interesting thing was that the Syracuse Stormers had they just started up a football team, Midwest team. There's a Midwest league, so I went down and tried out. And the coach was Steve Owens. He's was the football coach of New York Giants. He's in the Hall of Fame, and I played for him for 1 year.
Wow,
and it was great. He was awesome. I mean, miserable. He was miserable, like every coach. He's miserable, but he taught me quite a bit, and he was very stickler for everything he did. But the interesting part about that one was I want to tell a story about we play at MacArthur Stadium in Syracuse, and we were supposed to play Cleveland, and they got snowed out. They had a huge snowstorm, and we're in the locker room in Syracuse. And a reporter come up to me. We started talking. And I introduced myself to him. And that's the first time that I have met Carl Allenberg. He was a reporter with the Syracuse Herald, or one of the Syracuse teams. And obviously, 20 years later, him and I are both running for office at the same time. So that's my first introduction to Carl Allenberg. After that, I went to, I was starting to play, we played baseball. I played baseball in the summer. Like Billy Fleet talked about it the other day. We used to have recreation leagues.
Yep.
It's outstanding. We had all kinds of big time baseball players. And Billy Vinci, I don't know if you remember Billy Vinci,
Sure
Phoebe
do.
Costi, Buddy Evans. We all played on the same team. And we played, obviously, we played every day. In a recreation league, they gave you the baseballs, they gave you the bats, and it was outstanding. It really was. From there, I started coaching Pony League and Colt League. And in that league, we had some good players. We had Archie Trinfracco,
Yep.
P.D. Costi, Matt Ryan. We had all these other different ball players, and they were great. They were great. We went to a couple of tournaments. And from there, I got a call from, not baseball, though. I wasn't coaching high school. I got a call from Dennis Kabitsky. And he was my next door neighbor in East Rome for years. And he said to me, you want to coach football? I said, really? I didn't consider myself a football coach. He said, yeah, you're going to do the quarterbacks. Mike Davis is looking for a quarterback coach. First of all, I never played quarterback. Second of all, I don't know how to do it with the quarterbacks. But I said, yes, I'll join the team. I would love to. So I went there and talked to Mike Davis, and he hired me. The good thing about it was Jeff Skibitsky was a senior, and he was a quarterback. So every time we went to practice, I'd ask him what we're going to be doing. And he laid out a practice program for me. When we go individual, he would do the drills, and I go, "That's a good job." And coach would say, "How's he doing?" "He's doing great. He's doing great." I don't know if he's doing good or not, but he was a great ball player, and he had a good senior year. The other thing I remember when I first got hired by those guys, Tom Berry's on the squad also, and so was Marty Gomez. I met with them on a Sunday night at Rome Catholic. We're all sitting around and they're talking and we're interviewing each other and it's getting along good. So Mike said, we're going to go up and watch film. Good. We're going to go up and watch film. But they passed around a little tin can. In the can was Skull. Chew. So all the coaches were sticking in their mouth chewing. I'm going, I'm a coach now. I got to do it. Well, I did it. So about 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, we're going upstairs. I said, we're going to the library. I said to Dennis, man, I don't feel good. So he said, what's the matter? I said, I think I'm coming down with the flu. He said, you better go home. I was sweating. I was dry mouthed. I guess the fact that I was chewing for the first time, that was a reflection of it. So they sent me home. The next day I was fine, but I heard about it for a long time about me chewing. So that's how I met those guys. But it's a great experience for me, Rome Catholic. Outstanding experience for me.
And coach, you coach with so many special coaches and you had so many special players and teams. You know, we'll get into the baseball, but I still want to stay on the football for a little bit.
Sure,
but
sure.
Talk about some of the coaches you coached with there, special group.
With Rome Catholic, we had first year was Mike Davis, Dennis Kabitsky, Marty Gomez coached. The fact Tom Berry.
Yep.
Then the next year, Mike left and went to Hamilton. And Dennis became the head coach, and he asked me if I would be his defensive man and stay with him. And that was the best experience I ever had coaching football. He's a trip. He's a good coach, and he's a great coach. Nicky D'Argenio also coached with us there. And we had some great kids. I mean, we had some really great kids with our football team. And I guess he'll tell you next week all about him. But I'll tell you another story. Dennis always wanted a scaffold. So did Mike. We had these scaffolding. that you take for the games, and you go up on a
Yep.
scale, take pictures, and you scout. Because we didn't go in whatever we didn't go. So every football game, me and Tom Berry would load it, scaffold up, and we go. And we have to be there before he gets there, all set up. So when he gets there, he's a stickler for everything. Everything is timed. So we get it all done. Every trip. We go maybe hour earlier. One time we're going to Onondaga. And we're going through, me and Tommy. We got the red truck, Roman Catholic on it, all the equipment. So we're going there, and we're going through the Onondaga reservation. And all of a sudden, we come into a parade. All the kids, everybody had a parade. They go from the Onondaga reservation right to the field. They have a parade with a band, cheerleaders, everybody. And they all march. We're in this parade now, and we can't get out of it. We're right in the middle of it. These people are throwing garbage at us because you got Roman Catholic on the side.
Yeah.
So we finally get to the game. Dennis is there. Dennis is on the field with the kid warming up. Now he's hot. So all of a sudden he comes up and he goes, What happened? What happened? I said, we were in a parade. He said, you were in a what? I said, a parade. So Tom Berry just kind of walked away from him because he was steaming. We got the scaffolding up, but there a kid there from Onondaga's name was Mike Hart.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what. And I'm the defensive coordinator. And I got to stop this guy.
Good luck trying to stop him.
I think he had 36 points the first quarter. He was outstanding. If people don't know him, he was the one that played there, and then he went to
Michigan,
and then he went to the Colts. He played for the Colts.
Yep.
So he was an outstanding ball player. That was our introduction to Onondaga.
Coach, I laughed because when you mentioned the scaffolds, I remember with my father and then Pat Pasalakwa Sr., my dad never went up in the scaffold. He's like, you're crazy if you think I'm climbing that, that scaffold. But back in the day, that's what it was to go film and scout. You had to go up on the scaffolds.
I didn't go up in the scaffold. I was scared. I couldn't. I went up there, but I couldn't do anything. I would hold on, and I wouldn't do the camera. I wouldn't do taking any who was doing what. So Tom Berry always went up there and did it. And Nick D'Argenio used to go up there and do it. No, I wasn't going to go up there. I was afraid of heights.
Coach, the other funny thing is even nowadays when you look at like how these coaches scout, they got all these huddle apps, electronic programs, and who's exchanging films. My dad would always tell me, he'd say, Rock, we got to go to the game. I'm like, Dad, we're going to get films. We just exchange it online now. But you couldn't beat the old-fashioned going to watch the team play, bring in the notebook, bring in the pen. That was how you scouted.
Absolutely. What we did every Saturday before the game, because we played night games, we would go to watch whoever playing the following week. Tom Berry, myself, Nick D'Argenio, Ski. And the best place to watch it was in Frankfurt, because at the time the field, there's the road, they're making a new road. We should sit in the truck or the car, and we can watch right from the road. You just watch everything. The only thing we had to do is when the youngest guy would have to jump the fence and get the hot dog. So that's how it, and the other thing is we would grade the hot dogs in each place. So no, it was an enjoyable time going out to scout. They don't do it now. I mean, then we got film, like you said, we got film, and we never even did it anymore. Same thing with the basketball coaches. They would sit in the stands and they would coach and they would scout and everything else. So no, it was all the same, but it was a great time.
Coach, when you look at football now, because I know you watch your grandkids and you're still involved. But when you watch football now, and you watch it and you think back to when you were coaching, and even take yourself as a defensive coordinator, all these offenses now are all the spread offense, the fancy shotgun stuff. And my dad would always joke and say, get under center and get in the I formation and run the football. How much has that game changed over the years?
Oh, it's huge. You know what? When my son, now he's coaching, he does all that. He's got the spread. He taught me a lot about it. But before, like we said, we used to get the eye. Then it's just called power left, power right.
Yep.
Yeah, ISO this, ISO that. Maybe he threw a pass once in a while, but that was it. No, it's a different game. It's a fast game. That's a good game, though. There's a lot of scoring.
Yeah.
Defensive man goes crazy now. I mean, you don't know what to put up against them.
Yeah, and I mean, Nick Saban, I remember him just recently here during college football season said, nowadays college football isn't about having great defenses. You need a great offense now to win games.
That shows it. It's all offense. You got to get a good quarterback and good receivers and get a little blocking, and you're in.
Coach, do you think the kids have changed from now than what they were 20, 30 years ago? Do you think the game's changed, or is it a combination of both?
Both. It's both. There's things that, as a coach 30 years ago, they have changed. The kids are not interested as much as they were before. I mean, they were dedicated before. I mean, when you guys would lift every day you go up to school, you'd lift and stuff like that. You can't get the kids to do that right now. Some of them do on their own, but you just can't get a bunch of kids, like 20 kids, and say they're going to go work out. They got too many different things to do. They want to play with their iPads and they want to do whatever they want to do. It's not the same. And I don't think I can coach the way these kids are right now, because I'd probably get fired.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. I think that's been the common denominator is
No.
nowadays the old school coaches, and it's tough, right? I mean, you yell, and we used to, I played for Tom Hoke, and he would yell, and he'd grab me by the face mask. You can't do that anymore.
We had kids, I mean, not to do kids now and then, but our kids who played then, they were tough kids. They really, really were tough kids, and you went after them a little bit.
Yep.
They either took it or they gave it back a little bit too, which is good. It shows some spirit. You can't do it anymore. I mean, you holler at a kid right now, and they go into shell, or they leave, or they don't come back. So it's not the same. I coached with Jerry a little bit, JV baseball at Westmoreland, but it's tough. It's tough. And guys like me, Coach Davis, Coach Skeen, Coach Oak, we love the kids. I mean, everything we did was for the kids. But and they were, like I said, they were tough kids, and they worked hard. And it was
so, Coach, how did you go? I know you spent a long time coaching football, and I know you were also a long time, I think it was 19 years, coach at Rome Catholic for baseball, if my math is right. Talk to us. How did you get involved coaching baseball too?
Just through with my son and going up through. Plus, when I went to Rome Catholic, Fleeter was the head coach, baseball coach, and Mike 80 was the AD, and he wanted to know if I wanted to coach JVs. I was a freshman, and the freshman job was open, so I started coaching freshman baseball at Anania Field. And yeah, and I was fortunate enough to work with Fleet 1 year when he went to the States. It was a great ride with him, and he's a great coach. He's a different coach. I am a yeller, screamer, whatever, and he's a calm coach, and he explains things, and he does it the right way. He does a good job. That's how I got in baseball. And then Billy left, and Mike 80 gave me the job at the varsity, which I loved. Baseball at Rome Catholic was an experience that I'll never forget. We had some really good ball players there too. I can tell you a couple of stories about some of the boys we had. When I first started there, Nicky Kalikia. I don't know if you remember Nick Kalikia.
I do.
He was a tough nose, and he was a pitcher. And he was a good ball player, and he was one of my first ball players. And I can remember that 1 year, and he played left field. So two things about Nicky. First, when we were playing up in Dodgeville, and they had a good ball club. And they had I don't know if you've ever been up Dodgeville. Maybe you were. The baseball field is on the top of a hill, and there's big woods behind it and goalposts. So Nicky's playing left field, and this guy gets up, second or third batter, hits a ball over Nicky's head. So Nicky runs and gets it, and the guy gets a double. Third inning, the guy gets up again. He's telling Nicky, go back a little bit. He hits it over Nicky's head again. Nicky goes and gets it. He comes back. And I'm saying, this guy can't do it 3 times. I said, Nicky. So Nick, this is no lie. Nicky's standing almost in the woods. The guy hits it over his head again. He gets a triple. We get the guy out, and Nicky stops running by us, and he stops and says, Coach, you think he can walk him next time? And I said, oh, you want to get this guy out so bad, you never even thought about walking him. He was right. You should have walked the guy. So that's Nicky with out there. And then we had my first sectional game. Nick is my pitcher, and we had to go against a top seed Pulaski, and Nicky came through, and we beat this top seed, and I think we were 8 seed, and he beat the top seeded team, and he pitched a great game. He was a big time hitter, and then we lost the second game because of good. But Nicky was a great kid. I mean, he was tough. I think he ran more laps than anybody on that. Really, he did. But he was a great kid. A great kid.
Coach, you got a lot of comments here. Let me pull some feedback over for you. Freddie Pachica says, learned so much from Coach Fee. Absolute love playing football and baseball. One of the best all-around coaches. Old school coaching at its finest. If he yelled at you, he only did it to make you work harder. And says his door was always open for you if you needed him.
Freddie was another one. He had so much heart. Tough kid. Baseball and football. In baseball, he was my catcher. Story about Freddie was that I don't know if it was a sectional game. I think it was a sectional game. We're warming up, and his back, he got a muscle spasm in his back. And I said, Freddie, you got to catch. We don't have a catcher. And he says, Coach, I'm trying to. So he was catching. We had him on the sideline, and Tom Wick was the trainer. So he had him on his back. He was stretching on him. He was stepping on him, trying to get him to go. Freddie caught that whole game. He caught 7 innings, and every time he moved, you can see he was in pain. But that's how tough the kid was. I mean, we needed him. He knew it, and he gutted it out. And the other thing happened was that he tells me a story that we're in Canastota. We're in Canastota on a Saturday, and it was very hot Saturday morning, and we had a cooler of ice water, right? So now I'm trying to get the kids ready to play. I'm going, come on, all of a sudden, they're all around the cooler. I said, what are we doing? And all of a sudden, the cooler fell. It fell. No more water. Now, Freddie was catching 2 games, and it's about 90 degrees out. He was sweating so much that he was coated with dirt. But I told him, hey, we apologize. There wasn't any water. There was no water fountains out there. It was a Saturday, so they had to go without water for about 4 hours. That's not great about Freddie. He's a great kid. He's a great kid. I love him.
Coach, you got Nick Aquino says, ask Coach Fee about the fumble recovery, 92 yards for a touchdown with him and my dad.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Nick and I are sophomores. We're playing on the varsity. And we're playing against Auburn at the stadium. They were undefeated. I think they were on a 21 game winning streak. And we're getting beat 12-7. Now they're driving again. They're on the 2-yard line. Guy drives into the line, and we all meet him. All of a sudden, Nick comes out of the pile with the ball, and he's running the opposite way. Now I'm the only one who sees it, so I'm running with Nick behind him, and to see if anybody's going to tackle him. No one got near him. He ran 98 yards. It's still the longest yard for touchdown for a defensive guy. He gets to the end zone. He turns around and sees it's me. He's swearing at me, screaming. He thought somebody was chasing him, and he was terrible. He was out of breath and everything else. But he ran 98 yards. We won that game. We went ahead 14-7, and we beat him up a 19-14 or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
It was great. Nick was good. He was a good football player. Tough. Took no.
You got Chris Mauer too. Says thanks for the lessons and the memories, Coach. Looking great.
Oh, Chris is a great kid too. I mean, he's a great kid. I love him.
Let's see what you got here. You got Kenio Sabia. I don't know if I said that right. Says 24 ISO and 23 ISO.
That's it. You remember, those are very simple. You know what? For my son, when he talks, and I hear his different plays. Ours are simple. 29 toss, 29 dive, screen right, screen left, sweep right, sweep left. That's all we did.
Coach, my dad, we had 46, 47 power, 42, 43 ISO, 48 toss, 49 toss.
And then when Dennis called a pass play, everybody looked at me, what the hell are you talking? But no, but I'll tell you what, though, he had some good passers. He had some good throwers. He had Jeff. Jeff was an outstanding thrower. And his son, PJ.
Yeah, very good.
Was really good. Really good. That's another story about PJ. PJ was the quarterback. And I'm the defensive coordinator. Dennis would say to me, take him with you. What am I going to do with him? So PJ would throw the balls when you do your drills, backfield drills and everything else in defense. He would throw the ball because he was never going to play defense. And so that's he was always with me. But he was an outstanding thrower. My gosh. He had good receivers, but he was a great thrower.
Yeah, I remember watching him play.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah.
All right, you got Kevy Rye. And, Coach, I don't know if you caught the beginning, but the Ryan brothers are one of the sponsors for tonight.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice one. That's good. That's
so
good.
I want to make sure I thank those guys. But he says the absolute best coach to play for. We wanted to win for him more than anything. Love this guy.
I'll tell you what. He was a hell of a ball player.
Yeah.
He played shortstop for me. And I'll tell you, he's not only a ball player, he's a great leader. I mean, he took over, and no one screwed around with him when he was out on the field. He what a swing he had. Beautiful swing, and he was so smooth in the infield. He played at Bonnie. He did a great job at Bonnie. Yep. His brothers, they're all great. I mean, but him, we have this discussion all the time about who's the better shortstop, him or Brendan, because they both played shortstop for me. But they're all forgetting about Joey. Joey played too.
Yeah.
But outstanding ball player, outstanding kid. I loved, and he worked. I mean, even in the gym, we had tee work, and he would stay there and hit tees. That's why he was a great hitter.
Yeah.
And I got
the work it.
The work it was great. It was really great. Those guys were. I got a couple of stories about the boys too, but he did. We had a game. In fact, Harper, his cousin, played for RFA.
Yep, Eddie was a good ball player.
Eddie was a great ball player, and we were going to have a game one day up at RFA. We had the first light baseball game, varsity baseball game at Lucas Field. We just got the lights up. Excuse me, we were playing exhibition game with RFA and us. We're going to have Petey Costi was the coach then, and they had a nice ball club. So we're going to go up there. We're really loose and having a good time. Eddie and him are getting back and forth, arguing back and forth who's better. The only trouble, they called the game after Fiorini, but it was an experience for everybody. There's about 1,000 people up there. These kids were playing their hearts out, but having a good time, joking back and forth. It was great to see it, baseball like that in Rome. But Kevin was part of that. He was part of that, and he's just a great kid. And he would come over, we would talk. He was a good basketball player too.
Oh yeah, and he was a good football player too.
He dodged a lot. There. He's a pretty boy, but he did well. He did well. Very proud of him. He's doing great right now.
So, Coach, your baseball teams too. I got to make sure I got my math right here. 9 league titles, I think, at Rome Catholic, 4 sectional titles, 2 regional championships, 2 state Final Fours. You lost in the state championship. I think that was your 91 team that finished 18-6.
Right.
How special was it to go to the Final Four and play for a state championship?
You know what? It was that team was a bittersweet tournament. When we started that sectionals, we had a nice team. We had a tragic accident happen. Jason Mosca was our center fielder, and that Wednesday, I got a call early in the morning, about 3:00 in the morning, that he had an accident with his motorcycle, and he passed away. So that was really tough for everybody. The kids, they stuck together. They tried. We had meetings with them, and then we did our respects to them. And that Friday, we had to play a game, and I forgot who we played. But the thing was that we were down. It was raining, and we were playing a semifinal game at RCH, and Neil Smith was the umpire. I don't remember Neil Smith. Excuse me. We're getting beat 5-1. Our kids they weren't really, obviously they went through a lot of bad experiences. It was 5-1. We're getting beat. So we come in, it was bottom of the 7th. Now it starts raining. And all of a sudden we're making a comeback. And then we got 2 men on, 3 men. We scored now. We're 3-3. We're 5-3 or 4-3. Joey Ryan gets on base. And we're looking at everybody, and everybody's going, what are we doing here? So the next guy gets up. He flies out. And Helping is up with 2 outs. Now it's pouring out. I mean, you can't. The game should have been called or stopped. But he gets up, gets a base hit, and Joey Ryan scores the winning run. We beat him 5-4 in the last inning to go to the sectionals. I'm sitting in the dugout now. Everybody was crying, to tell you the truth. But they had left, and I'm in the dugout with Neil Smith and the reporter. And Neil Smith says to me, there was no way that he was going to cancel that game or call that game. He said, I don't care how hard it rained, it wasn't happening. So that we won that game, and then obviously we went on to win the sectional game in Herkimer the following day. So it was a good experience, but it was really a tragic experience. The kid Moscow was a hell of a ball player.
Yeah,
he set the stolen base record for us that day. So it's just, but those guys, the Ryan brothers, Jeremy, Helping, they were so strong. They brought the team together. They kept the team together. And it was an experience that, you don't want to go through, but when you go through with a bunch of kids like that and they stay together like that, it's something special that you never forget. I as a coach, would never forget it. As a person, I would never forget it. It was great. It was great.
And Coach Kenny talked about it on the show with me last week, and he talked about the experience of bringing, Rome Catholic, that small school, to the state tournament. And I was telling him it's like Hoosiers, right? You got the real small team, are the baskets the same height as every arena? But bringing any team to a state Final Four, let alone play for a state championship. I mean, that's every kid's dream in high school, is to play for a state championship.
Listen, speaking of Kenny, he was at that game. We played at in Ilion, in that field that's down below, and on the hillside, it was massive amount of people. I didn't believe how many people can get in that park, and they're rooting for Rome Catholic. I mean, we got beat, but we played a good team from Rensselaer. But it was great with those kids. I mean, it was outstanding. It was a great trip. States, obviously for the basketball and stuff like that. But in baseball, we got there, and it was great. The kids are just great about it.
Coach, I remember we used to have, obviously I played at RFA, but I remember we used to have so many fun battles and just going back and forth with the RCH kids and who was going to win more games and who was going to be the first team to lose. But I can say this. I went to a lot of the football, baseball, and basketball games at RCH, and I always say that at RFA on Friday nights, playing in front of the crowds, and I got a chance to play in front of, you guys got huge crowds then as well. I miss those crowds. We played in front of a lot of people. You coached in front of a lot of people at RCH. Those were special times.
That charges you right up. When you know what? Coaches even know, and they can't tell me they don't. When there's a big crowd there, you get fired up just as much as the crowd does.
Absolutely.
They fire the coaches up too. I got to tell you a quick story. I'm not going to drag it on. I'm going to tell you a quick story.
No, it's okay.
Brian 80. He was a freshman. Mike 80 was, I think he was at New York Mills then. I got a game, and my second baseman was ineligible to play. So I said to Brian, You're supposed to play in Rome. I said, you got to come. You're going to come with me to Poland. We're going to play. You're going to play in Poland, and you'll be one game, but you'll be all set. You'll be one game. So I called his father up, and I said to him, "I'm taking your son to Poland with me. So don't go there. Don't come here. Go to Poland." He said, "You think he's ready?" I said, "He's ready. I wouldn't take him up if he wasn't ready." That 4 years later, he's still my second baseman because he's outstanding. He was outstanding that day. He got a couple of hits, and so he was on the varsity for 4 years. As a freshman, he started, and then I never let him go. Him and Brendan were the best double play combination that I had at Rome Catholic High. He could turn a double play like crazy. So no, he was a really, really good ball player, and obviously they all were, but he was special. He wasn't the best hitter. Great glove. I just say good glove, no stick or whatever it is. Well, he had a decent stick, but it wasn't good. It was fair, but he was a great bunter. So I don't know if I'm old school or what I'm punch and Judy player. I love my guys who can bunt, run, steal, and suicide and all that stuff. So we were in New York Mills. It was a sectional game, and I'm giving the suicide to him. He misses it, and I called timeout, and I walk down to him and said, "Catch the sign?" So I caught the sign. Next pitch, it wasn't a bad pitch. He didn't suicide again. So I took it off because he had 2 strikes on him. He hit a homer. He hit the ball out of the park. We won the game. And so I was sitting down after, I'm saying to myself, what a great call. What a great call. He hit a shot, and it was outstanding. They were all great kids. Like they said, that first sectional game and the last sectional game was a trip also. My last one there. And John Call, Matt Woodman, Spelsey, those guys, we didn't have a good record. I think we were 7-8. We were the 9th seeded team, and we start on a roll, and they just caught fire. We won our first game, our second game, and now we're going to Madison. Madison had a good team. They had a great pitcher. John Call was my pitcher. John Call, we only had 2 pitchers, John Call and Matt Woodman. John Call pitched 9 innings, struck out 20 up there. Their batter struck out 17. Wow. We won the game 3-1. Yeah, that was a big time game. He struck out 20, and he got the 2 hits that we needed. So that's the kind of pitcher he was.
Wow.
And Matt Woodman, it was the other pitcher. John would catch, Matt would pitch, and we reversed it after a while. But one game, the semifinal game, I think it was Scotty Burns. If that was the game, Scotty Burns was a third baseman, and he pitched a little bit. He had a pitch, a semifinal game for sectional. He was great. He had 10 strikeouts. He had 3 or 4 hits, and he was, he wasn't our starter, but we needed him to in between the 2 pitchers. That off game that you can't get your starter in, he's the one who did it, and he got us to the finals. Woody pitched the finals. Woody was wild at first, and I had to go a little talk with him on the mound, and we got something straight that if he doesn't do it, we'll have a little talk. But we won a sectional title my last year with him and John Call. And then we got beat in the regionals. They had a kid who was 27-0 pitching. John Call was pitching against him. We got 1 run off him. John Call hit a homer off him. He got 1 run off John Call. I think it was the 8th inning. 8th inning. They were home team. They got bases loaded on an error and walk. First guy suicides, and John right to John, and John throws him out at home. Second guy suicides again, perfect bounce right to John. John went to get it, and he slipped, and he fell. And the guy scores, and we lose 2-1. But he played. That kid was an outstanding ball player. In fact, he hit 5 homers out of the Lotus Field in the course of the year when we played up there. He was just smashed the ball. There's all kinds of kids up there. I mean, I can talk about kids all day long. And,
Coach, how did you end up? So when you finished up at Rome Catholic, I know when Coach 80 was at New York Mills, you got the opportunity to go there. What was it like to go from Rome Catholic to Mills? And I know you got a good relationship with Coach 80, but talk to us about how you ended up over at Mills.
I wanted to see what it was to teach in a public school or coach in the public school kids. It was different. It was different. You got more involvement with the parents, and I wasn't used to that because all the parents we had at Rome Catholic, they were outstanding. You know, they understood that you're the coach. We're not going to come in your dugout. Excuse me. We're not going to come in your dugout. We're not going to give Junior some cookies before the game. And I wasn't used to that. I was used to what we had.
Yep.
And so my first couple of games, I was kind of surprised that these people would come in and bring juice to them or water to them and stuff like that. And I got the kids after, guys, and they were talking about what's the coach say, what's this? I said, guys, you're your team, you're mine. Any problem you got, you tell me. I don't want your parents coming to tell me. I don't want anybody else coming to tell me. You're the right ball player. You tell me. And I said, please tell your parents. Wait till after the game or right before the game, before you walk in the dugout. Give me your soda. Give them your cookies or whatever. Not while the game's going on. Really, it's true. And that's the kind of I did have a little problem with that for a while. But I solved the solution. I had a solution. Without saying anything to the parents, I went up and I got those orange fences that you put up for roads and stuff like that. I got two rows of that because we had that at the Lewis Field we had them, and I put a fence around our dugout, so no one could get there. They couldn't get me because the fence was behind the dugout. So another fence. So the superintendent, I forgot who the superintendent was at the time, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm putting the fence up. I just want to keep our kids together and everything else like that." So I wasn't really real liked at New York Mills. I loved the kids. The kids were outstanding. One guy, Jonathan Ross, great player. I mean, he would stay after and say, "Coach, you got to throw me batting practice." Listen, Jonathan. Then his father would come down, who was a good coach, a great coach. He would hit batting practice after the game. And this kid hit 400 or 500 every year I had him, and he was he played. He took a college after, but the parents, most of the parents were outstanding. But I had a couple that weren't pleased with me. So, but different kid, different time. But a lot of them, I did the same thing I always do. And most of them accepted it. And the ones that didn't accept it, they left. But it's different. You know what? Rome Catholic was where my heart was. The hardest thing for me was when New York Mills played Rome Catholic for the first time. And I sat in the visitors' dugout.
Mm-hmm.
Watch the other kids, from Rome Catholic. And there was only a couple left that played for me, a couple of them. But we talked and everything, but it was completely different. But my time, 80 was a great athletic director there. A lot of the kids were great. The Steveners and the Rosses and the Millennials, they were really good. There was just a couple that they didn't get along with me, and then I didn't get along with them. But I loved the work there. We had some good ball players. we had some real good ball players there.
Well, Coach, I want to get to some more comments, and I want to get into a few more things with you here before we get moving. But Mark Vaca says the world needs more Coach Fees. Thanks for everything.
Mark,
Tom,
let me tell you something about Mark. Let me tell you something about Mark Vaca. Thank you. I saved his life. I literally saved his life in the ball field. He used to be a pitcher and an outfielder, but he can hit. He's one of the best hitters I ever had. He had hands wrapped that were so quick it was ridiculous. He hit a ball over 2 fences at our place. The fence where it comes out, and he hit the ball in the parking lot and hit the school. That's how hard he hit the ball. But when I say save his life, he was pitching and he got his bad shoulder, so he can't pitch anymore. So he's going to go outfield. So we're having practice out there one day, and he's getting pretty close to getting hit in the head with the ball. He's trying to catch the ball, but he's not catching it very good. So I called him over. I said, not Rock. Come here, back. Please, come here. I'm going to do you a favor. Don't ever bring your glove to practice again. He said, what? I said, don't ever bring your glove to practice again. You're not going to see the outfield. You're a hitter. So he was my DH for the last 2 years. But Coach Dave was a little smarter than I was. When he went to Hamilton, he put him at first base. So I guess it was a little bit different. But I had a good first base. He can scream the ball. Never seen anybody with faster hands ever. And I had some good hitters. John Call was a great hitter. Mark was just so quick with his hands. No, he was good.
See who else we got? Tommy, Coach Ramos says, great coach, great guy. Thanks, Coach.
Tommy Ramos played second base for me in Little League, in the All-Star game. And he was so good as an infielder. I was teaching double plays, and I was teaching how to jump turn at second base, at second base. He picked it up so fast it was ridiculous. Outstanding ball player. He played for me with the Indians too. He played the outfield when I was coaching the Indians. Great ball. Outstanding ball player. His son was very good too.
Oh yeah, very good, Nico.
He was very good, very good. But Tommy, outstanding ball player. Yeah.
So, Coach, we got John Brody says, great coach to work with. Had a lot of laughs and learned a lot. Thanks, Coach. John was a great player too. I remember watching him play.
Oh, John. We played softball. He coached with us, me and him, Davis, and my son, Jerry. We coached 14U, 14U at the time, 13U. We had a softball game against them, the kids. He had a softball. I didn't think he could go that far. He really. And the other thing about Brody, what I learned as a coach, he knows so many drills. I mean, he's a knowledge of drills. Every time I went to see him, he had a different drill. And that's what I picked up from him, his drills and stuff. He was great.
Great. John was a good infielder, very good infielder, good hitter. He was good. He was a good tailback at RFA too.
No, he was an outstanding ball player. And like I said, he's a really good coach. I mean, he knows the game. He really does. John played for me in Little League, but he knows the game real well, and he's taught me as far as the drills go. The other guy too, I'm going to tell you right now, is an outstanding player. Is Jerry Fiorini, my son. He played baseball and lacrosse, but he's a good coach. I was surprised that he got into football because he never played football, but he played football. He coached football at Proctor.
Yeah,
and so I got the opportunity to coach him in youth football. When my grandson was 12 or 13, we got into 13U, 14U, Pop Warner. And I learned a lot from him as far as offense. I mean, he brought these kids, and he brought it down to the lowest level so they can do it. And he coached real well. He's a good coach. And I enjoyed coaching him because I coached with him in baseball. He was a JV baseball coach. And he said to me, you want to come? I said, absolutely. But see, I got a little thing too. I got to coach third base. I got to work with the pitchers. And he says, you can work with the pitchers, you can coach third base. So we had a great time with him. He's an outstanding young man, and I enjoyed coaching with him. He really did.
Yeah, I didn't know he didn't play football. That's new. I didn't know that. Did not know that.
He is outstanding lacrosse player. I'll tell you a quick story about him. Talking about coaches, he played for Herkimer in the national championships teams. Wareham was their coach. So my wife and I go to the lacrosse game, and we're sitting in the stands. All of a sudden, I look, and he's got my son by the face mask, and he's tearing it off his head. And I says, "Wow!" So I said to Jerry, "What happened?" He said, "He thought I said something. I didn't." That's the kind of coach he was. I mean, he was brutal, but the kids loved him, and he's a great coach. Jerry wouldn't play for anybody else. And he played 2 years in Herkimer. Then he went to Springfield, and he played lacrosse at Springfield for 2 years. He was captain of their lacrosse team. So I'm pretty proud of him too. But no, he never played football. No.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
And I never played baseball at RFA.
Right. That I did know. I did know that. I didn't know the volleyball thing, the baseball thing, the football thing with your son. But Coach, last thing I wanted to ask you about two more things is you got inducted into the Rome Sports Hall of Fame back in 2008, I believe was the year you went in. How special was that for you and your family?
First of all, it was unreal. I couldn't believe when Mr. Ryan told me that I got inducted. It's the greatest honor that I think of as far as being an athletic or a coach. That's the pinnacle. I mean, by your peers, you're there with a lot of the guys that you looked up to as far as coaches and ball players. So it's an honor and I'm humble about it. It's a great honor that I'm humble about it.
And Coach, when you look back now on your career, even when you were in high school, when you got involved in coaching, who were some coaches or friends that helped you out along the way? Who were the mentors for you growing up?
I'm going to tell you the truth. The one back then, there's only one. Coach Dane. And then right now, Dennis and Mike. They showed me a lot about football, a lot about coaching. Because I coached. I didn't really coach that much with them until I got to RCH. And I was always a baseball guy, but I was always with Little League or something like that. So I wasn't really with an actual coach teaching or learning from them. And Mike Yady. Those three guys, I got to tell you, they got me where I am right now as far as knowledge of the game and teaching me all about the game. Those three guys.
So, Coach, last thing, non baseball related, the Final Four right now: Gonzaga, UCLA, Baylor, and Houston. Who cuts the nets down?
I'm going Gonzaga. I mean, Baylor's looks awfully tough, also, but UCLA's right. They had a run. That's the end of it. That's gone. That's it. Gonzaga.
Well, I've been a diehard Gonzaga fan for over 20 years.
You know what? I'm not.
So I'm on the Mark Few bandwagon. I hope they get a chance to cut the nets down. Baylor, I think if they get Baylor, I think that's the game that everybody wants to see. I think Baylor can give them a game, but Gonzaga is special. They're like an NBA team.
Oh, they're special. They really are. I love the way they move the ball around and they share the ball.
Yeah.
So me not being a basketball guy, but I really enjoy how they play.
Well, Coach, listen, I'm sorry we got on a little bit late, but it's an honor to talk to you, my friend. I really appreciate it, and you're welcome on any time. And there's so much more we can get into, but you're a legend in my eyes, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Rock. I appreciate it.
All right.
Say bye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
I will. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we got on a little bit later with Coach. We had some technical difficulties, but the best part about doing these shows over the last 2 months is really just letting the coaches talk and letting them tell their stories and really just listening to them tell the stories about the players. And you can still see, and I know, Coach, I always say that the old school coaches, but you can still see the passion, the fire in his eyes when he's talking about some of his players and, his experiences and some of those special teams that we all have. And I'm so fortunate and glad that we got him to come on here tonight. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you, Coach. So I appreciate everybody hanging in there with me tonight. I appreciate all the comments. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of them tonight. Remember, next week I was supposed to have Kelly Hoke on the show. I'm going to reach out to Kelly. She knows I have to reschedule her, and we'll more than likely shoot for the end of April. So the next show we'll have on here will be April 14th. I'll talk to Coach Tony Abone. longtime Smith Post manager. I'll have him on, and then I'll follow it up with Coach Dennis Skibitsky, who you heard Coach Fiorini talk about here tonight. So it should be fun. So next week, enjoy the week. Enjoy a spring break. If you're on there, if you're going anywhere, be safe, be careful. The Mohawk Valley Sports Watch will air Saturday morning from 9 to 11, so make sure to tune into that. So on behalf of myself tonight and the Rock Pile, as I say every Wednesday night, the Rock Pile is where dreams